4 hours previously, I'd found essentially 6 blocks of land that were under market. So I said, listen, what do you need? And he went on to tell me that he actually needed 6 blocks by the weekend and he would be able to scrape through. And I understand that he was doing very, very well at this point. So we got talking and listen, he basically said to me, look, I can probably pay around about I think it's about $142,000 per block or something. And that was about $7,000 was the margin in all of that. And $7,000 per block by 6 blocks was $42,000. And I hung up the phone, I said, Stewie, listen, they are yours, consider them sold. And I got back on the telephone to my other friend, Brian. I said, listen, I think I might have solved your problems. And he couldn't believe it. He was just out of his mind. He was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. I said, this guy's willing to take them and he needs them now. So he managed to negotiate with the banks and pull himself out of that little hole. But in saying that, I'd made about $42,000 in 4 hours. And understand that I'd gone from living a great life to earning $400 a week cleaning windows. And $42,000 in 4 hours really turned things around fast. Over the next 6 months, I became very specialised in some particular regions around Australia. And I just knew that there was value in them. And one particular parcel of land I saw a huge opportunity in. And I came across 2 developers that in fact were in a lot of trouble. And the reason for that was that they were kind of financially bound to each other. Neither of them was big enough to undertake this particular development by themselves, and they really couldn't afford to buy each other out. But the project was too big to do, even together. So they had to sell this particular site. And the kind of price that they were asking for, I felt, was undervalued. I knew the town plan very well at this point. I became very specialised in this particular area, and I figured that it was worth a lot more. And my research and my understanding of the town plan told me so. So I optioned it, and I optioned it for 24 months. And 34 days later, I came across a company in Queensland that was very, very aggressive and looking for this specific type of development. So I actually sold my position to them. I sold it short, as we discussed before.
Right.
And that netted me about $1,066,000 in 34 days. And I knew from that point on, this was the solution to all my woes. And from that point on, the rest is history. That was basically 7 years ago, and we've been charging at it ever since. And obviously, we're in a very different position today.
Awesome. So you started off making some money at school while you were studying at the time. Lost a lot due to a bit of fraud and unfortunate bad management, and found yourself in the doldrums cleaning windows, and then through a series of circumstances just happened upon options, and now you've become one of Australia's leading specialists at it.
Yeah, well,
what a great story.
It's been an interesting curve. It really has been, yeah.
So Mark, how do you help people who want to learn about property options? I mean, it sounds fantastic, and I understand the concept. It's rather simple and it's very exciting. But I'm sure there must be a lot of fine detail that you need to consider in order to be very successful with property options.
Look, you're right, Daniel. It's very, very simple in its concept, but there are a lot of finer details that we need to consider. Understand also that we do have a formula for success, which we've used for over 7 years now and accumulated over $500 million worth of property deals in that time. So to teach people about property options, I run a training, mentoring and partnership program. We start off with a 2-day training course where I teach students how to understand the best types of properties for optioning, how to find them using state-of-the-art online tools, and how to contact the owner and discuss the deal with the owners. We advise students which areas also are best to start looking for option deals. The students then spend their time searching in key growth regions as opposed to just any old area. I teach the students a step-by-step checklist of what to look for. If they find a property which suits all of the criteria, they then contact the property owner and discuss with the owner entering into an option with us. If the owner is interested and agrees to all of the conditions, then the student contacts my team. I will then look at the deal, and if I feel the deal meets our criteria, it's a profitable deal at that, then we will take it over as a team. Along with the student's help, I will meet with the owner and sign up the deal, put it together effectively. And my company, Massland, will then pay for the development approval costs. The student will then be involved at every single stage, so we're actually mentoring and holding the student's hand right through the whole option process. Massland will then organise the sale of the option, or in even some cases, we may even elect to develop the property ourselves. But when the deal is concluded, we share the profit with the student in an 85-15 split. That is, the student ends up with 15% of the net profit. Now that can translate to somewhere between, say, $100,000 to several millions of dollars per transaction.
So Mark, let me get this straight now. The student goes and finds the opportunity by looking online and finding the deal. They then contact the owner and confirm that the owner would be interested in entering into an option deal. The student then brings the deal to you, and you look at the deal and confirm that it matches all of your criteria and that it would likely be a profitable deal. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
You then step in and you do the option deal with the owner, including the student, so the student can learn what's involved in optioning up the deal. You then pay for the development approval costs, correct?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Right. And you're involving the student in every step, so they're learning all the development approval steps to get a DA through council.
Correct.
You then organize the sale of the option to the ultimate buyer.
Correct.
Or you may even choose to develop the property yourself. You then share 15% of the net profit with the student.
Absolutely, yep.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, the opportunity to work with someone like you with your caliber and your knowledge, I mean, frankly, it's unheard of. But the opportunity to then share in a significant portion of the upside profit with no downside capital risk and no requirement to put in any money of their own, I mean, that's a fantastic opportunity for a student.
I'd like to think so, Daniel. But it really is, it's a partnership between the student and the Massland team. Exactly.
Right, Mark. So there's no financial risk to the student. I mean, the only thing they're spending is their time to look for the opportunities, look through the internet, find the deals, and then talk to the owners to see which owners would be interested in entering into an option for their property.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So how many properties would a typical student have to look through to find the one deal that would actually stack up?
Good question, Daniel. It's usually about 30 to 40 deals per month that a typical student will search through. But like everything, you know, as time progresses and they become more familiar and knowledgeable around the information, that time is reduced.
Right, so it becomes easier to find the deals and therefore you can find them much quicker.
Absolutely, yep.
All right, so Mark, I have to ask you, you know, this all sounds so great, so why do you bother spending time teaching other people this information? Why not just spend your own time looking for the deals and keep all the money for yourself?
Great question, Daniel. And the reason is very simple. It's time. I only have 24 hours in a day, just like everyone else. So I don't have the time to search through all the possible deals and speak to potential owners. I'm looking to partner with people who have the time to look. I can teach them what to look for and even guide them to the most profitable deals. Partner with them, and by doing the deal with the owner and paying for the DA, I take all of the financial risk, not the student. Therefore, I give the student 15% of the net profit. So my aim is really to build a team of dedicated property searchers who are committed and dedicated to searching through as many deals as possible. We have the capacity to be doing 10 times as many deals as what we're doing now, and we need the help to do that. See, I can't find all the deals myself, so I guess it's a win-win for everyone.
So Mark, can you talk us through one of your recent deals? I mean, how you found it, how you optioned it, what are you going to do with it, etc.
Sure. We identified a key area and we were looking for that through Google Earth, which is a satellite-based mapping system. Right. A lot of people are very familiar with that. It's available on the internet. So, you know, again, not leaving our office. But we looked at the fundamentals using macro and micro cycles, what we know. We isolated a parcel of land, a very strategic parcel, wedged between a main highway and a CBD of a city. We went ahead then obviously approached the owners in order to control the parcel under option. They were more than open to that. When we sat with the owners, it turned out there were two large families, and we obviously discussed the idea of getting under control so we could add some value to it through a development approval.
Right, and what type of property was it originally? Was it residential, or was it like raw land, broad acre? What type of property?
It was broad acre, Daniel, yes. It was zoned rural at the time, but being future industrial. Okay. So it had like a split zoning. So obviously it's interesting to us because we want to make it future industrial.
Okay, and what are you planning to do with the, so let me understand, you optioned the property from the two families.
Sure. And
what did you option it for? How much did you agree to pay them in the option?
We agreed to pay them, the property we ascertained was worth around about 4.45 million. We gave them 4.69, so we gave them $240,000 over the market.
Right.
And we felt that was well worth our time.
And when you say you gave them that, you mean you just
We
you
optioned
haven't
it.
actually paid them, you
That's
just
correct.
optioned
Yep.
to pay them 4.69.
Yep. We've controlled the site for 4.69 million. We put down $1,000 to do that. With that in mind, we're now looking at developing the land. We have actually had an offer since then from a large development group here in Australia, and they want to pay us 7.45 million just to walk away from the deal. So we've actually optioned it, controlled it for 4.69. We have a large group that's come along and said, listen, we actually want that parcel. We'll give you 7.45, you just walk away now. That's about 2.7 odd million upside just to leave the table.
Wow.
Just so they can take our position.
And over what time period for between when you actually optioned it and when you got the offer of 7.5?
Sure. It was about 16 weeks.
16 weeks?
Yeah, it was
so
just
4
about,
months?
About 4 months-ish, yeah.
Wow.
Since then, we obviously have decided that we're going to undertake the development ourselves and see it right through to a finished product.
Okay.
So we're going to go through the development approval, we're going to engage contractors, and we're going to build the physical industrial lots and then sell them to the market ourselves.
And
I mean, why not? You know?
How many industrial lots will you get out of the property?
I think to date we're looking at around about 36, 37 is the
Right.
final layout so far.
And how readily will they sell to the market?
Oh, we've already got expressions of interest coming in now.
Have you really?
Yeah, we'll sell at least probably 50, 60, 70% of it before it's even finished.
And by doing the development yourself, how much total upside will there be? Instead of the 2.5 something million, if you sold now to this other development company, how much total upside will you make by actually developing it yourself?
Great question. The total site usable land is around about 110,000 square metres. So that translates to a profit margin for us of about 10 million net as opposed to 2.7. We'll end up with 10 if we build it ourselves.
Oh, fantastic. And was a student of yours involved in this deal?
Definitely, yeah.
Really? So a student actually found the deal, brought it to you,
Yep.
and then you became involved with it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. And so the student obviously will make their percentage upside as
Yep.
well for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Massland does all the development,
Yep.
does all the contracting, does
Yep.
everything.
Massland undertakes the development approval, we pay for it, we engage the civil contractors, we pay for those, we provide the funding, we provide the exit strategy, we provide the sales process, and obviously the finished product.
And the student's going to end up with a couple $1 million out of this, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And over what time period from when you actually did the option to when you think the whole thing will be finished, done, dusted, sold, developed, and you've got all your final money out of the whole deal?
Yep, great question. I'd be putting a line around somewhere between 18 and 20 months.
18, 20 months.
Total process, yes.
Wow, awesome deal.
Yes. Well, the council's very proactive in that particular area. They want to see that as industrial land. It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So the development approval will be very, very quick. And the civil contracting works are around about 26 weeks as a total program. So not very long at all.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, this all sounds really exciting, but let me ask you a few more questions that I'm sure a lot of our home viewers are wondering. First of all, are there actually a lot of high growth areas around?
Definitely, Daniel. Let's look at a national scale. The residential market has been in quite a spike for the last 5 to 6 years. And that trend obviously triggers so many other different sectors: industrial, commercial, professional space. So are there high growth areas? Absolutely, on a national scale.
And what's driving these high growth areas in Australia today?
Great question. Population growth first and foremost, but also too a fundamental is obviously the mining boom, the resource explosion that we've seen in Australia of recent times. That's definitely driving a lot of prices as well.
Right, so the demand for new shopping centres, new hospitals, new schools, new infrastructure, all that's driving property prices.
You bet. And that's where opportunities in lie.
Okay, Mark, let me ask you another question. Have you ever not been able to on-sell an option? That is, you've optioned up a property, but you haven't been able to sell it, and therefore you've had to walk away from the deal.
Look, great question, Daniel. Has it happened to me? No, definitely not. I believe in doing the work and the research up front. So you should be able to identify, through our event, we actually show you market trends and sectors. But with that, you want to identify where an opportunity lies, and you actually want to have the end buyer or the ultimate buyer in place before you even go searching for the deal. So should there be a situation where you're left holding an option and unable to sell it? Definitely not.
So are you saying then that there's a lot of ultimate buyers that you're familiar with and you have an idea of what they're actually looking for, and that can help you steer your students to find the appropriate type of properties to go and option up to then provide to the ultimate buyers?
Most definitely. It's exactly how it works. We talk to a lot of ultimate buyers, massive publicly listed companies, in fact multinational corporations, and we actually ask them for a menu, a very specific criteria, a menu of what you need and what boxes we need to tick in order for the deal to work for you. we start with that. We've already got the ultimate buyer in place before we even find the deal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very short process.
So Mark, what's your favorite type of property to option up?
Look, there's two, Daniel. I love industrial because it's very, very simple. And a lot of students feel very comfortable starting there because it's very easy to understand. But secondly, also, I love commercial, being retail shop. Whether that be a centre or strip shop, there's massive scope in these particular sectors.
And I understand there's a lot of demand from ultimate buyers for shopping centres.
Most definitely. Our country is going through a very unusual trend, and we're following a global trend, by the way, in that particular regard. But there's huge scope for commercial retail, yes.
Mark, how many other people are doing property option deals in Australia today?
Virtually none, Daniel. That's
Really?
exactly how it works, yes. A lot of the multinational corporations are using options, but not to their full extent. They're not actually realising the full potential of options.
And what about the mums and dads, the people who might be watching this video? How many of them would be using property options?
Oh, zero, potentially zero. It's, in fact, without the knowledge, it's probably quite an advanced strategy that a lot of mums and dads aren't terribly familiar with at this point.
And even if they had the knowledge, they wouldn't necessarily have the backup support of someone like you in Massland to then partner with them with the financing and the contacts and the knowledge and the guidance.
Great point. Yep, definitely.
And Mark, when you're discussing a deal with a landowner, how much more than the current market price would you typically offer the landowner in order to enter into the option deal with you?
Anywhere between 2 and 10% generally does the trick, Daniel. Understand a lot of owners have unrealistic expectations. We can't fulfill all of those. But somewhere between 2 and 10% is a good figure that they know they're getting a premium for their property.